What's going on, everyone? It's Young Man. Today is January 15th, 2026. I appreciate you clicking on the video. Today, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, Metaplanet, and strategy, the three things that we've been talking about and will continue to talk about. So, today, the topic that I want to discuss is why Bitcoin represents novelty and why Bitcoin represents a turning point in human history and just a moment that will have lasting significance for humans and just for creation itself. So I'm going to start from like base principles to describe this, but basically the main idea is that humans have always had a relationship with energy. We are made up of energy, and what we do is move energy around. We try to store energy. We try to trade energy. All organisms on Earth utilize energy. This is obvious, but humans are unique because we try to maneuver in certain ways that gives us a relationship to energy that is different than a lot of other species. Of course, there's animals and fish and other species that do similar things and um, maneuver around energy in little ways, but humans are pretty sophisticated relatively um, as a species, the way that we try so hard to store and transfer energy. The reason Bitcoin is so novel and so important is because for the first time ever, we have a proper way to go about trading and storing energy. You can think of money. The creation of money did a lot for our relationship with energy because it has been used as an account of energy and a medium of exchange of energy. But money has never actually represented energy. It's been an attempt to represent time, which is another way of thinking about energy. But through all the different forms of money that have been used, we've never had one that actually represents energy and time in a proper way because we've never had one that's actually scarce, and we've never had one that has this type of proof of work protocol that um, interacts in the same way that time does, and it moves in the same way that time does, and in the same way that energy does. Because energy is finite. We all know that we only have so much. It's finite in the sense that it can only stay where it is for so long. Of course, we know energy cannot be created or destroyed, so it's actually infinite, but in certain forms it's finite. In the same way time is finite. Time seems infinite, but my time or your time or his, her, or their time is finite. It's fixed. It's only theirs for so long. And so it would make sense to have something that represents that time, like money, but it would not make sense for what is supposed to be representing that time to not actually work in a similar way. Because my whole life we've used fiat currency, and fiat currency is not finite. It is printed. The Federal Reserve expands the supply of money. The supply of time and energy is not expanded. So we're representing one thing with something that works in a completely different way. Bitcoin is novel because it's the first time that we've been able to make an abstraction of our time and energy that actually has similar mechanics. So that's the main idea. But more what I want to talk about is why this is such an important moment in history. Because everything that will be built in the future is going to be built upon this new protocol, this new network that we value our time and energy with, which is Bitcoin. Everything, every system that comes after Bitcoin will have to be based on truth. It'll have to be based on scarcity. Of course, there will be a long fight between the existing power structure and the existing way of doing things that's all based on lies and fiat and basically just fake authority. There will be a long process of this fake authority being replaced with true authority, but at the end of the day, we're going to be operating based on a Bitcoin standard. It's the only way that this goes because I'll credit Michael Saylor with this idea, but he always relates Bitcoin to a protocol in the same way that base 10 math is a protocol, in the same way that the English language is a protocol. It's not threatened by other protocols because it's the protocol that the rich and powerful people use. Like the English language has had such success over time because if you are born into a different language and you want to be the richest and most powerful person in the world, you likely will learn some English. Or even just if you want to be the most rich and powerful person in your community, if you want to be a leader of your country, you're going to learn some English. You're not going to make it your life mission to make English not exist anymore. That'd be a waste of time. You'd be fighting up against something that you can't win a fight against. But you will learn some English. If you are born into a system that doesn't use base 10 math and you want to be a mathematician, you're going to recognize that base 10 math works and you're going to look into it and adopt it. There are certain things that just work. And it doesn't matter who believes that they don't want to adopt those systems, they're going to work whether you adopt them or not. And so the only logical move to make is to adopt them. That's how Bitcoin is, and that's how Bitcoin is going to be. I've already seen it play out in the short time that I've been following Bitcoin. You can have whatever opinion you have of Bitcoin, and it will eventually demand your respect. We've seen the chairman at BlackRock, Larry Fink, who's he basically is one of the most powerful people. I think he's the leader of the World Economic Forum. BlackRock has one of the most assets under management of any system. He's a very powerful person, and you would think that he would have a lot of influence over what protocols are adopted. He spent a lot of time trying to spread fear and uncertainty and doubt about Bitcoin, trying to deny Bitcoin's existence, trying to keep his level of power without adopting Bitcoin. And over time, it didn't work. He had to adopt Bitcoin, and that's what we've already seen. He's not all the way, he doesn't fully understand Bitcoin if you listen to him talk about it, but he adopts it. His BlackRock has the IBIT ETF, and a similar thing happened recently with Jamie Dimon at Chase. Chase is very powerful, and they are able to basically decide what happens in the world because they have everybody's money. In a big way, they're able to decide what protocols and networks are adopted. But certain protocols and networks don't care who co-signs them. They force you to co-sign them. They force Jamie Dimon to finally accept Bitcoin and stop firing people on his team who own Bitcoin. Instead, Chase has meetings about Bitcoin and how they're going to maneuver alongside it to keep their power. There's very few times in history where something is so powerful and so pure and true that no matter how much power you have, you bend the knee. That's what is happening, and that's what will continue to happen. And the reason I make these videos is because you have a lot less power than Jamie Dimon and then Larry Fink. So what's going to happen to you if you don't adopt this protocol? Probably your life will be impacted in a way that's more negative than it is positive. But if you adopt this protocol, you might set yourself on a better path. And so the main idea is just that some systems are truer than the existing systems, especially in the world that we live in, where most systems are based on phony pretenses. They are similar to house of cards that are built and propped up, but the foundation isn't solid. We now have the tools to create systems on solid foundation. And it's extremely interesting. And that's why I make videos about strategy and Metaplanet because they're a perfect example of systems, operating systems that are being built on this solid foundation. They recognize Bitcoin for what it is, and they're as quickly as they can assembling a system on top of it. And I think that they're going to be rewarded. And I think that the early shareholders in these companies are going to be extremely wealthy. None of this is financial advice. You have to do your own research and find your own conviction, but it's worth looking into. And I also just believe that this is like Bitcoin didn't, it wasn't created, it was discovered. It's a protocol that is embedded within the metaphysical realm, within the logos. It's something that is realer than what we see and experience. I believe that because it's in cyberspace, because it's not a material invention, it's more of a dimension that we have access to now. I believe that it's you can understand why it doesn't care about your opinion of it and that you have to adopt or you will be left behind. It's something that is spread across the temporal dimension in a way that you never could be. And you can adopt it and become part of the network, and your ability to spread what you are across time will be improved, but you're never going to last forever. Bitcoin offers you a tool to become more like Bitcoin itself and to free yourself from being on a hamster wheel of earning fiat. But whether you do that or not, you're not what your opinion won't change what's going to happen. It's Bitcoin is going to move a long time and it's going to continue to gain power and influence. And whether you adopt it or not, it's going to do that. So that's why I just suggest that we all look into it and adopt it. And we've never seen anything like this. The point of this video is I want to describe why it's so novel. So something else that I'll say is that we've never seen a monopoly on money. We've seen a monopoly on shipping. Amazon has a monopoly on shipping you packages. We've seen a monopoly on software. Microsoft is used by almost every business. We've seen a monopoly on the phone. Apple, you could say they have a monopoly on the handheld tech device. We've seen monopolies. We even see monopolies in like who supplies food to restaurants. We've never seen a monopoly for something that every single human on Earth needs. Every single human on Earth needs money. They need to store their economic energy. You can't exist without needing that. Of course, you could make a case that if someone exists in a community of 20 people and they all share everything, they don't technically need money. But the reality is most people don't exist in that. The reality is most people need a way of exchanging energy and storing energy. So money is so important to all the 8 billion people on Earth, and Bitcoin represents a monopoly on money. No one's ever even imagined something as powerful as that. Like Zuckerberg created a monopoly on social media. A lot of people use social media. He's a very powerful entity and his company is very powerful. The amount of people that use social media in and how often they use it in relation to the amount of people that use money and how often they use money, Zuckerberg is blown out of the water. Like you can't even imagine the energy and the power that's going to come from the Bitcoin network or what the Bitcoin network will represent because we've never seen a monopoly on money. And I just think that we're at the very beginning of the process of the move toward this global monetary network. And I think it will favor the people that adopt it early, just like everything else has favored the people who adopt it early. There were plenty of people riding horse-drawn carriages when their neighbor had a car. They didn't just keep their horse-drawn carriage for forever until they died. If they did, they're a fool. If they did, their life was probably harder than their neighbor's life. They eventually just decided, all right, maybe my neighbor's on to something. Maybe I'll check out this automobile. And then they save a lot of time and energy. We want to save time and energy. That's everybody has the same want, and it's to save time and energy. So you have more time and more energy to spend doing things you want to do, especially now more than ever. Like people work two jobs, people work 50-hour weeks, 60-hour weeks, people drive Uber after their office job. No one has enough time, no one has enough energy. Bitcoin is gifting us the opportunity to protect our time and to protect our energy and to maybe have a better quality of life in the future. So, there's a lot of different ways that I could describe why this is such a novel idea and why it's so important to civilization. Um, but I don't want to go too long today. I just wanted to make this a quick video. So, if you did watch the video, I appreciate you. If there's anything that um, you guys would like to hear me talk about, just leave a comment. I don't think I'll run out of ideas of things to talk about, but there are some people that watch my videos consistently. So if you do, and there's something you want to hear me talk about, just let me know. Um, and thank you for watching.